Hello and welcome to the Joy of Painting Middle-earth. I'm Timbo Took, and this is a time when we get together to paint the most fantastic landscapes Middle-earth has to offer. Now, last week we painted Gollum finding the forbidden pool, and it was during the day. He had been chased by the Ithilien rangers all day, and he was out of breath, and so he was resting near a rock, and he saw that pool off in the distance, and he thought, that would be a good place to fish. But I won't come back till night. And now, it's nighttime. And here we go. We've got our black canvas here. This is what we're painting. Now, I've prepared the canvas by putting a little bit of that magic clear down. That's right. I've got the canvas wet just like the Blue Wizard used to teach us how to do. Bob Ross the Blue, he used to come to the Shire once a week when I was just a little hobbit, and he taught us all how to paint. So we've put that magic clear down here, and inside of that, and some of the spots I've put some blue. So that'll be picked up in the highlights. So right here, I'm just going to come to some magic white. And you notice I have a nice new clean brush today. My brushes have been suffering a little bit, so I didn't get rid of them though. Old brushes are still good brushes. That's right. But I'm going to come here to this fan brush, and I'm just going to come up, and what we're going to do, there's just a little bit of sky peeking through these trees. There's going to be trees here, and then the waterfall and the pool will be right here. So very similar to the painting we did last week, but this will be a little bit closer, and it'll be at night. So here we are. Ready? So we just come up, and we just start making some of these crisscross strokes. You can see, and it may have gone on a little thick, but that's okay. We're going to have some trees and things in front of here. So we're just bringing this down, bringing it down. Oh, there we go. And again, this sky is just at the top. Now it doesn't look very nighttime-ish. I guess I must have pulled off too much of that blue, but that's okay. We'll come, and what we'll do is we'll just blend it in. Let me go to a blender brush. I've got one here. These blender brushes are lots of fun, but you just want to pull on it real quick before you touch it to the canvas. They have a lot of loose hairs in them, so they'll come off on the canvas if you're not careful. There we go. So we're just going to just blend this in, and you can see that'll darken it out. We're taking some of the paint that we put down, we're pulling it right back off. There we are. Now we can take that brush, and we have a rubbish bin down here. Now I'm beating the Sauron out of this brush, but you can't hear it because it's a soft blender brush. So I'm just taking a little bit of that off. There we go. And I come back up here, and we go back onto our canvas, and just circles, just pull that down, blend that together, and you can see I'm pulling out some areas that are a little darker. We don't want that white so thick on there. It went on a little thick, but that's okay. That's okay. We just pull it down. There we are. This is our night sky back here, but there's some clouds in there. There's some clouds, so that's not quite as dark as I was planning, but that's okay. If you do that, well, we have some midnight black here. We can come and we can try and fix this a little bit. I'm just going to put that right onto our blender brush, and we'll just come in and we're just going to tap this in some other places. And this midnight black has a little bit of a purple tinge to it, so it'll blend in really nice. So we got that, and then we just blend it. Oh, I'm blending it all over my easel. That's what I'm doing. Blending that all over my easel. There we go. Just making those clouds. Now we've picked up a bit of that. So let's just gently wash off this brush. Now these blender brushes, we've got odorless paint thinner that we wash our brushes in, and these soak up quite a bit of paint thinner. So you want to come out and you just want to, that's right, you just want to get that off there. Now we'll take a paper towel, and we're just going to make sure that's real dry before we put it back on, because we don't want it to put too much paint thinner on our canvas. There we go. Oh, and it might not have been dry enough. I'm putting a little too much paint thinner there. That's all right though. That's all right. That's okay. Watch this. Watch this. We're just going to take this paper towel, and we'll paint with this for a minute. There we go. We want to bring that down to a night sky. I'm taking too long on this sky for sure. Maybe I'll speed it up when you go back to watch it. Oh, that's right. There we go. There we go. Again, this is just the background. I didn't want it that bright though, so I just wanted to bring that down. Oh, we got a bit of one of those hairs that I talked about there. There we go. Just knock that off. There we are. Let's come back. Oh, that wasn't a clean dry brush. That wasn't a clean dry brush. This is a nice new clean dry brush. We're just going to take those marks out of there. Just crisscross strokes. There we go. There we are. Now that looks a little bit more like night in the background. Little bit more like night there in the background. There we go. Now, let's come back. Let's wash off that brush that we made a little dirty. Just got the rubbish bin down here and we beat the saran out of it. There we go. We can hear that one. We can hear that brush. There we are. Nice and clean. We'll set that to the side. Now we're going to go back to this fan brush. We're going to come in here to this midnight black and we're just going to take that down. There we go. Load it up on that fan brush. There we go. Dirtying this brush up. Getting it a good start. And what we're going to do is we're just going to, back here, we're just going to put some trees in. So I don't want to be in your way, but we're just going to put some trees. Let's bring that in and then we'll do, just knocking in. These aren't evergreen trees, but some sort of trees. Knock that in. These are just trees that are in the background. We're just knocking that in. There we go. Come back, get some more. These are just the background trees. These are just things going on in the background. You barely be able to see them by the time we're done. There we are. Maybe it's very dark right here. Very dark right in that corner. There we go. Put some more of that on. Maybe we want to go to a bigger brush. If I'm going to sit here and I'm going to put all that in, I'm just going to come to this 1-inch brush. I've got to load up that midnight black. And we're going to come here. Oh, and we're just going to knock that on. There we are. Got some trees going on back here. Now, you might need to put a big old hobbit foot on there, and that canvas is dancing quite a bit. These are just the background. Oh boy. Oh, making a mess here. Let's see. I'm just going to push that back. All right, I've pushed my canvas back and I've wedged it against the ceiling a little bit. That way, there we go. We can get more of a spring from the canvas rather than from the easel. I pushed it back. There we are. There we go. That's enough of that. That is enough of that. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to come to some of our sap green. We want to darken that up a bit. We want to darken that up because these will be the trees that are in front but don't catch that much light. There we go. Just load that up on the brush. And now we come up. And now we're putting some trees in. We're just going to make a line right down the middle and come up. And we're zigzagging back and forth, putting that in. There we go. Let's get another one in there. Right here. There we are. Just fill this space. And I'm not getting very clean lines there, but that's okay. That's okay. We're just putting these back here, just putting these in. There'll be some more right here, right in front of this. There we are. Maybe there's a bigger tree right on that side. Comes down there. There we go. Put one up right here, right in the center here. There we are. There we are. Now let's take our palette knife, and we want to put a trunk in there. Just something that's maybe catching the light a little bit. And we're going to lighten it up, but not too much. Just take that together. There we go. Now we're going to come up, and we're just going to give these trees just an appearance of a trunk in here. Doesn't have to be throughout. A little bit more. Come back up. There we go. And we're coming in here. Here and there, just placing that in. There we are. Now we want to come back. We want to lighten that up a little bit. Not too bright, but we'll come in. Some more of our green, maybe a little bit of that yellow ochre. Just pull that onto the brush right there. And we'll just give these branches a little highlight, not too much because it's at night still. But we can't paint it completely dark. That wouldn't make much for a painting. If you couldn't even see anything on the canvas, I'd just call it done and tell you what's on there. But you like to see it, so there we go, making some of those come down that way. Again with this one. There we are. And that color, being a little lighter, pushes everything else into the back. There we go. Same over here. Just fill that up. There we go. There we are. And let's come and do the same on the other side. So come here and zigzag it out. There we go. There we are. You see how that works? We put down that undercolor just to give it the shadow in the back. And then we just come back and highlight that a bit. You want to be careful not to pick up too much of that tree branch color. You can, that's okay. It'll spread it through, and that's fine too. Those colors are occurring naturally throughout. There you go. So that gives us a nice forest at night look. All right, come and let's maybe a little bit more on this one right here. There we go. And we can put some of this grass in up on top. There we are. And we'll have to decide where our waterfall is going. All right, and then what we'll do, we'll just bring some of this down. There's going to be, we'll say there's kind of a cliff here, and right here is where our waterfall will wrap around. So let's just put this in. This is going to be what's right behind our waterfall. We won't see much of where it's coming from. Kind of running through those trees. You can't really see it from the angle we're at. We'll bring that down that way. And then all right, so I've gone and I've put a little bit of that liquid white, that magic white, right on our palette here. And you can see it gets all over my hands. My hands are getting messy today. That's what happens when you paint. Oh, you get paint everywhere. It's no questions whether you're a painter or not. Now we're going to take that liquid white, that magic white, and we're going to bring our waterfall right in here. So it's going to come down this way. There we go. Bring it over and down. Maybe there's a rock or something there in the middle that breaks it up. And then it comes this way and down. Oh, I didn't come quite straight down. You want to come straight down with it. Straight down. And these will come together. There we go. Maybe there's even a part right here that comes in. There we go. And then it hits the bottom. Our pool is going to be right down here. So as it hits here, we're just going to splash this water up. There we are. There we are. That'll splash there. Just turn it side to side. And then it hits. And then it gets to swirling around. There we are. I had some blue on the canvas there, and you can just see it barely coming through. It's not coming through real well. I put it in and then I wiped some of it off. I thought it might be a little too thick, but oh, there it is. There it is. So now if you just let that come, you can make all those swirls and bubbles and things right in there. Maybe we just go to a little bit of that phthalo blue mixed in with it. And we can put some color in here. You don't want to press too hard at first. There we go. That's more what we intended. Some A little bit of color in there. The moonlight is picking up that color. And that might be a little too bright there. So what we do is we wash off that brush. That's okay, that's okay. Don't worry. As Bob Ross the Blue used to say, we don't make mistakes, we just make happy accidents. So I think that got more dirty trying to clean off the brush. There we are. We'll come back, get some more of that liquid clear or liquid white, and we'll put it back in here. There we go. That kind of tones down that blue we put in. There we are. And this is swirling and bubbling. It's hitting rocks and things. And then some of this is even splashing back up this way. There we go. Just bringing that out. And that just bubbles and froths and goes all over. You would not want to fall over that waterfall. No, sir. No, sir. There we go. And let's put a little bit of color in this. A little bit of color going in there. We're just taking that dull, we've dulled down that blue a bit. I thought I had more blue on the canvas here, but apparently I didn't. So we, rather than starting from the top and ruining that up there, we'll take it and start from the bottom and we pull it up. And that'll even blur out some of that water, so it's not quite so streaky. You can see how that works. There we go. There we are. Now we can just come in and put some details on the side. So maybe right here, oh, we have, say, a dark rocky color. We'll make this dark color right here. We don't have to put too much because that canvas is already black. So whatever we're doing, we're just going to come back and highlight. So here is a cliff. Coming right down this way. And we'll come and we'll do the same on this side. Now you know in our story, old Faramir woke up Frodo from a sleep to come look at the gangle creature that was swimming in this pool. That's right. Gollum was down swimming in there. He was down swimming in there and he wasn't supposed to be. It was the forbidden pool. And Anborn was standing there and he told Faramir, I can shoot him whenever you'd like. And of course, old Mr. Frodo, well, he may have thought about letting him shoot that poor creature. He thought of what Gandalf would say. And he had sympathy and mercy, and he stopped him and said, no, let me go down to him and talk to him. Because they thought he might have been searching for their secret passage to their fortress that was behind that waterfall. But Mr. Frodo knew. Old Gollum was just there looking for fish. He didn't know the ways of men. That's right. He didn't know that much about the ways of men. All right. Bring that down. Maybe give a little bit more light on this side. There we go. Just so we can see that. Just so we can see that. There. Right there. Maybe we'll do a little in here because it's probably hard to see that, so we need some highlight there. Just softly, 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 just touching that to the canvas and bringing it down. And that just gives you those rock faces right there. And this is just that color we used making those trunks in the trees. We just added that into our dark color there. There we are. Now let's say there's some moss. Some rocks are covered with moss right over this way. Let's cover those rocks with some moss. Let's come here. We just have a 1-inch brush going into that little bit lighter color. Let's come maybe a little more of that yellow ochre. Maybe make it a little more green. There we go. Just now I did too much green. Let's go back to some yellow ochre. There we go. Dull that down a little bit with that yellow ochre. And then let's come back here and we'll just say there's some rocks right here that are just covered with moss. This moss is growing because of all that moisture. There we go. Just put that in. Just pop it in and don't kill all the dark that's in there. You have plenty of dark. You wouldn't want to step on those. You might slip into the water. Oh, that was old Sam. Sam followed along even though he wasn't invited. And he stood back a little ways when they went to the edge up on top of the cliff to look down at the Gollum creature. No, Mr. Sam, he didn't feel, my Grandgaffer Gamgee, that's right, he didn't feel too safe standing up there looking down at that creature. He didn't like those slippery rocks. There we go. We just put that in right there. We can go and do the same on the other side. On the other side here, there's going to be that same moss-covered rock. There we are. We just pop that in. There we go. And if you want to even lighten that up a little bit, just come to some of that cadmium yellow. Just put a little bit of that on the brush and just come and highlight some of those edges. Just where it's picking up a little bit of light. Not too much because it's nighttime, but again, we want to be able to see this in our painting. So we're tapping it on there. You just come back and you just tap it in. There we are. Now right next to the pool there's going to be some rocks and things. We're just going to set that to the side. So here we have some rocks. And what we want there kind of a gray rocky color for those. So let's make some of that. I got that blue right there. Let's mix some of that in. There we are. Just pull that out flat and we'll take that and we're just going to make some rocks here. There we go. Let's make a little more of that. Make a little more of that. We'll come back and we'll highlight some of that, but just mixing a little bit of that blue color in there. There we are. This will just push that water. It'll be right in front of that. There's a rocky path there, of course. There we are. That'll be our rocky path right down to the water. We'll come back and we'll highlight that in a bit. Now we're going to make more rocks right here in front. Yep, right there. Right there. Just Put it on a little bit thick so it blocks out that water. Come back, there we go. And we'll do another right there. Right there's a rock. There we go. Big rock right there. There we are. Now let's come up with a little highlight color for that rock. Let's just take, that's some of our liquid white. We'll see how that works for us. We're just coming into our rocky color, just toning it down a bit. We've got that liquid white, and we'll just come here and see. Oh yeah, that'll go on. You don't want to press too hard. That's going to come on real easy, being that liquid white there. There you go. And so we're standing here, the light's hitting here and here, so you can see. And just create that rock right there. And that other side, a bit darker side. There we are. Bring this one right here. Coming again. And just putting some shape and light in there. There we go. There we are. Maybe grab our little edge. And we'll just come highlight that very top part. Right there. There we are. Let's do the same right here. Now we had that path there. Let's come some of our brown again. Right there. Lighten that up a little. Just a little bit of that white. There we go. And we'll come to our path here. And this is that path Mr. Gollum found. Just comes back this way and it'll get lost in our weeds. There we are. There we go. Now let's come back and put some, let's put some bushes and things in there. So we'll have to come maybe to this darker green first, and then we'll highlight some of that. So, and we'll just up in some highlights, just using some of that yellow ochre, just giving those bushes. We'll come back and put Gollum in there. So for right now, let's come and make a nice grassy color here. We're going to just take some of that sap green, some of that yellow. We're just going to come and we're going to put grass in here. All right, I had a little technical difficulty in the hobbit hole. I swear this technology, it's all from Saruman. But not to worry, we're ready to paint it this again. Now, it's actually been a few days since I put this down, and now it's dried a little bit, and it was evening before when I was painting. Now it might be a little brighter in here because it's daytime. But we're going to put in our Gollum, and of course, Faramir and old Mr. Frodo looking down at him as he fishes in that pool. So let's get right to this. We're going to do a color with Gollum, as I usually do with my characters. Now this painting had dried a little bit. This paint had dried on the palette a little bit, so it might be a little thick. We just add a little paint thinner in there. That's okay. I don't want to let it dry too thin on the palette, then it's hard to get off. But right now we're going to put it down. We'll put it down a little thick because we're going to come over this with some details. So I just have this Van Dyke brown, or no, this is burnt umber. This is burnt umber. We'll see if we can get this to go down on the canvas when it's this thick. So as I said, we've got our Gollum creature. He's right here. Right here. We're just going to put in him, and we're just putting this in with brown. That'll be our undercolor. What we do is we put that silhouette a bit with the brown, and then we'll come over him with details and kind of put in the skin tone and that sort of thing. So this right here, that'll be his bum. That's his loincloth right there, covering those things we don't care to see. Now let's see, he's leaning down on this bank. So his knee comes down this way. There we go. And maybe he's got a foot sticking up right here. Foot sticking up, and it comes down. And we're looking at the back of him. That's right, we're looking at the back of him. So we'll just put this in. Just that outline of his character. There we go. And then we'll come back, pick up a little more paint. And of course, we want to make sure that loincloth is on there. There we go. And he's got his other leg here. I know I probably should just kind of sketch him in real quick, but we're just going to start like this. We're just going to start on this leg. Oh, it comes down. And he's got his foot on the ground right here. I know that might be hard to figure. You're like, oh, how are you painting that, Timbo? What's that look like? What does that look like? There's his foot. Right there. Now we'll come back. Again, these are just some little details. And we'll say, this is the way his spine comes. Right down like that. He's a little curved there. And he'll come out. We'll say he's got this arm raised in the air. So this will be his hand. And this might be a little difficult. That was some of that liquid white we had in there. So that doesn't dry as quick. And we'll make that his elbow comes down to his shoulder here. And then let's put in his head. And his shoulders are kind of angled down. And those are those bony shoulders of his. He doesn't get much nourishment, I suppose. Just eating fish and things out of the river. You would think, but I don't know how often he gets those. So he's managed to survive all this time, though. He's managed to survive all this time. And that bony shoulder comes down this way to his back there. This gangly creature, and then maybe his elbow comes down this way. And this arm is raised. There's a fish in this hand up here. We'll put that in. But let's give him... Oh, he's got his head there. And of course, you know, Timbo, I don't do the best on some of these characters. I do better on mountains and things, and this takes a bit more concentration for me to put in these characters, but it's fun for the story. It's fun to tell the story on the canvas. That's right. We tell that story, and our story is of this Gollum creature. Now his head's a little wider maybe than a normal person. We just want to show that. There we go. So that's how we do it. We've put that in, and now we just come, and we're just pulling that back. We don't want too much paint on there, kind of making some shape on him, some shading and such. There we go. There we are. And then up here, of course, like I said, we'll have Mr. Frodo and Mr. Faramir. We can even kind of put a silhouette in for them. So we'll come, and this is just what we'll paint on top of. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to just put where their heads will be. That's right. They're not too detailed. They're pretty high up here. And you'll probably be able to see them a little bit more than you would have normally. But that's just because we want to see them in the painting. Normally they'd be hidden in those bushes and not even Gollum would be able to spot them. So here is Mr. Frodo. His head will be right here. And then of course Mr. Faramir is up there with him. He'll be standing just a little behind him. We'll make his head there. And then Anborn was the guard who was standing there with his bow, ready to shoot. And maybe I didn't make him quite tall enough compared to Mr. Frodo. So we'll just bring that head up a little taller. And then this figure, and of course he'll blend into those bushes. There we go. And then Faramir will be right here. And we just put the shape of him. And Mr. Frodo right in front of him. I hope you can see that. We'll come back and we'll put some details on those characters there. There we go. Oh, and maybe my Grand Gaffer Gamgee, he was there too, but he didn't come close to the edge. So we'll see. Maybe we'll put my Grand Gaffer Gamgee's head just back there in the bushes. He didn't want to get so close. He didn't like that wet, slippery rock they were standing on. But that's just where they'll be. And maybe we'll just put over here, there was another guard, another bowman in these bushes here. Just sticking out of those bushes. Right there. You can't see him very well, and in fact, you wouldn't be able to see him probably if Faramir hadn't pointed him out to you. But we'll do that. Now let's come back. Let's maybe put that fish in old Mr. Gollum's hands. That's right. We'll just come here, and there's this fish. There's this fish he's holding on to. Just give it a tail. Bring it down this way. There we go. And of course, he wasn't supposed to be fishing in there, but he was. Now let's wash off that brush. There we go. Now let's get a color to fill him in. So we have a little bit of white, our titanium white right there. We're just going to bring that up over here. Right there, right there. Now maybe we'll go to some of this yellow ochre. We'll mix that in. There we go. And maybe just a touch, just a very tiny touch of that red. We'll put it down like that, and then maybe bring some in. Just coming up with that color for his skin. There we go. Might for Mr. Gollum too. He maybe is a little more pale, so let's just bring that over and see. We don't mix it all together, so we give ourselves some variations in there. There we go. All right, that's a good color. And remember, this is mostly in the moonlight, so a little hard to see, but we'll just come up here and we just start detailing in. There we are. And we've got his hand here, holding on to that fish. Just bring that down and you let that just kind of mix together, and that gives you your shading, your different colors there. Now you can come in and you can do just shade after shade after shade until you get the right variation that you want for the look of him. Maybe you want him to look a little greenish, a little pale, almost sickly. You can do that. You can do that. Just bring it down his back. And you mix that together so it's not just flat. So it's not just a flat color. And then you just think about how that back, the bones in his back would shape it. There we go. If you have to put just a touch of paint thinner on there, maybe thin it out just a little. Just a little, as the more you get on there. There we are. And on his legs, of course. There you go. Bring it down to his heel, right there. And then those big old feet just protrude out in front of him. There we go. And like I said, you just leave some of those shadows in there and that. You just play around with it. That's right. There we go. Come back. We'll do this leg here. Just sitting down on his knee. And then his foot right here. And you let that shade together. So this side is going to be a little lighter and this side will be a little darker. So you can come back, pick up some more, and bring in from the light side. There we are. And there we have old Mr. Gollum. Maybe want to color that fish in. Maybe it's got a little bit of a green tinge. We'll grab some of that titanium white as well. Bring it up here. There we go. Just a color, just to give us some more color in there. Just to that fish. Give it more separation. That's right. So we take that, come up to this fish that he caught. He's a lot better at catching fish than I am, that's for sure. Old Timbo is not much of a fisherman. I enjoy going fishing, but I'm not very good at it. That's for sure. That's for sure. My little hobbits have caught on, and they even tease me a little when I even talk about fishing now. That's right. Now, if you're having a hard time getting that color to come off, just get a little bit of paint thinner and thin that up a bit. There we go. You see that? You make it a little like ink, and then we can come back and put that on a little more. There we are. Now we have there Mr. Gollum catching that fish, not knowing that he's trespassing in the forbidden pool, Henneth Annun. All right, now we're going to go up, and we have old Mr. Frodo and Mr. Faramir, and then, of course, Anborn. So I always talk about my grandpappy Took. That's right, he was on this adventure, not, of course, here, but my grandpappy Took, he had a son, my father, and his name was Faramir Took the First. That's right. Faramir Took the First is my father, son of Pippin Took, my grandpappy Took. And then, of course, my grandgaffer Gamgee was Samwise. He was here. He was in those bushes. Now, his daughter Goldilocks married my father. That's right. Goldilocks Gardner. She was my mother, and she and Faramir Took the First were married, and then old Timbo's older brother Faramir Took the Second was born. That's right. And of course, he has responsibilities in the Shire. I never had responsibilities. Oh, I was always able to go off adventuring with my grandpappy Took and my grandgaffer Gamgee. That's right. Here's old Mr. Frodo having to make that tough decision. And there's Anborn right there. And then here's this guard over here. And you can see their faces. Normally those Athelian Rangers may have had their face covered with a mask. But some of them may have said, oh, you can't tell me to do that, and then they didn't. But that wouldn't make much sense when you're trying to hide from an enemy. No, but maybe that's what happened, yes. All right. Enough of that. Old Timbo's just teasing a bit. Let's give them some cloaks. So I'm just going to take my titanium white, maybe a little bit of this midnight black. We'll make a grayish color. There we are. We're just trying to make it so it stands out. Of course, the point of all these clothes would be to blend in. But when you're doing a painting and you want somebody to be able to say, oh, there's a character right there, you can do this. So it might not be, oh, as it would be in the story for sure. But we get that. And let's put these cloaks right over him. Right there. So we just do this, and these are very small details. Maybe he has his arm right behind old Frodo's back. And of course, this is a landscape painting mostly, so we're not completely stuck on these characters. We're doing the landscapes that surround them. That's our focus. There's others. Oh, there's great painters. There's a painter, his name's Ted Naismith. Oh my goodness, his paintings are very inspiring. Very inspiring to me, for sure, for many, many years. And he does these details so good. Oh, Timbo just kind of puts them in, having fun. There's Anborn right there. Maybe that cloak is coming over his head. Back, get a little more. There we are. There's Faramir. And then Mr. Frodo. We know he had that elven cloak. There we are. Oh, and I hope that looks good to you there. I hope you can see that. I hope you can see that. Oh, let's go to this feller. This feller back over here. We don't know his name. We know Unborn's name. We know Faramir and, of course, old Mr. Frodo. But this feller who's just hiding back here, we don't know his name. He's just a sentinel, standing guard there. And I think I was picking up more brown off that than I was putting down our grayish, kind of purplish cloak color. There we go. We don't want to do too much there. We'll start mixing some mud. But let's go back to our skin color, our skin tone there. We'll just put in, oh, Mr. Frodo, of course. Oh, his hobbit footses. Just so you can tell it's a hobbit. And then Mr. Faramir's hand. There. And then we'll come just to some of this brown we need to put in a bow. Hopefully I can do it with this brush. We just want that nice and thin. And we'll come up here and we'll give Anborn his bow. There we go. That's a little hard to see. Maybe I'll mix some midnight black in there. See if we can make that stand out a little more. And it's getting a little thick there. We don't want that. We'll leave it at that, and you know that's a bow over his shoulder. And this guy too. He's got his bow here. Oh, it's hard to see. It's not coming off so super well. But that's okay. You know that's a bow right there. Maybe we need to give it just a slight highlight. Okay, last attempt just to put a little highlight on there. There we go. I guess you can see that now. It kind of overtook it rather than just being a highlight. But we'll do the same right over here. There we are. All right. Now, I guess we have time for it. We can put my old Gangraffer. We can put my old Grand Gaffer Gamgee just peeking out back here. He was right there. Maybe he stood up on a stump back there so he could see without having to walk to the edge. That's right. Maybe that's what happened. There we are. And that's really all there is to it. Maybe just to tell that that's my Grand Gaffer Gamgee, I'll put a little bit of hair. Just some of his hair color there. He didn't have that cloak over his head. If I can get that to stick. If I can get that to stick. That's always a problem. He's just peeking out. There we go. All right, and there we have it. We have old Mr. Gollum down there. He's fishing. We have Faramir and Frodo and Anborn up there, and they're talking about whether they should just shoot him or take him prisoner. And you have my Grand Gaffer Gamgee over there, Samwise, just standing in the back, not wanting to get too close to the edge. And he wasn't invited there anyway, so that was his fault for coming. And then you had more sentinels. They're standing guard in the bushes, and they're ready to take aim at old Mr. Gollum. That creature Gollum, yes. He was a villain, but still Mr. Frodo had pity on him. He may have had second thoughts, but he did have pity, and that's a good thing. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed this painting. I do apologize for it being a little late, but you have a good week. Goodbye, and God bless.